Happy Monday! It's kind of a crazy time. I took and I titled this thing, if you lost it all in 30 days, what would you do to turn it all around? If you saw my other videos, you were seeing I was talking about a rags to riches transition. That actually is no longer a theory. It is a reality. Here's the thing I ran into. If you look at my other videos, in fact, maybe I'll show you one of these videos now. We just had our 8th child. So we've got our 8th child. We just got home from the hospital. As soon as we get home from the hospital, all of a sudden I get this. All of a sudden the alarm started going off for fire. I live in the mountains, and all of a sudden the whole mountain's on a blaze. Fire everywhere. You can take and you can look at it. You can see we just got home from from the hospital. My wife is in a serious case of starting to get into postpartum depression. I've got to work real hard to kind of keep her out of it. And you can see here we are, fire all over. In fact, maybe I ought to post some pictures into this, but if you go to my wife's page, veganbosslady.com, you will see exactly what was going on. The alarms. Here we are, my wife with our brand new baby, walking around, not sure where to go. All of a sudden, the world turned upside down. And so, evacuate from the house. Well, as soon as we got evacuated from the house, not sure where to go. I've got 8 kids, so where do you take a family of 10 to go live? Well, this threat of fire is coming along, and your house might go up in cinders like that night. So it was terrifying. It was scary, but it was a reality. That's what happened to us. And so in the hustle and bustle, we were packing everything up. We were moving everything. Like, I've got a lot of kids, so I've got a lot of things to worry about. So I've got to pack everything up. I've got to take and haul it out of the house so that when we're somewhere, we have something to be able to take care of our kids. Well, I thought that was probably pretty traumatic. But then as soon as we get out of the house, my parents, they were fortunate. They allowed us to come stay. We put kids on tables for beds. We slept on the floor. We just kind of had to spread out and lay down and sleep. And that's kind of how that took and shook out. And so that was our situation. Things got even more complicated because during this fire evacuation, which were kicked out, that the mountains ablaze, all of a sudden my business that I had completely collapsed. All of a sudden my income, everything that I had been working on, had built up, this entire revenue stream, just all of a sudden it completely fell out from under me. So now I'm kind of left bare. And then once the fire, by some miracle, like literally by some miracle, a couple of weeks later, we were actually able to take and return to our home. And that probably deserves its own story in and of itself, because what happened was kind of amazing. It makes no logical sense that our home was still here. But now I've come back to my home. I'm now in a position where I've got a newborn baby. The stress and the traumatization of all of it is just throwing my wife into this really, really deep depression. So I'm trying to figure out how to keep my wife together. We've got all these kids. All of a sudden, the income completely collapsed. So now I don't even have a way to support the family anymore. And that's where we found ourselves. And then all of a sudden, they're like, now you got to worry about floods because of all the damage that occurred right next to your house. All this damage came in. And so now you've got to worry about all these floods. And now you're like, seriously, what more could go wrong? Like, is there anything else left in the bag that could come out and try to ruin our day? And so that's kind of where we found ourselves. So when I showed a previous video, I said, look, I'm going to put a Lamborghini right here. And I was all excited and jazzed. When I was doing that, I had an income. I wasn't evacuated from my house, and we didn't have a newborn baby. My wife wasn't in depression. There was all these things that hadn't happened that complicated things. But now here we're at. And so where I'm at right here, I want to show you, this was a toy room. This is where I had my kids and stuff. We had things set up. This is no longer a toy room. It's a toy room. in the sense we needed a place to work where our kids can do stuff. You see the table back there. This became the war room. You can see my whiteboards I put here. I put whiteboards there. I'll show you these whiteboards over here in just a second so you can see it. But the whole question, or the main thing is how do I get back on my feet again? Like I've been in situations where I've been all of a sudden I've watched businesses kind of evaporate out from under me before. Bit of a terrifying experience. I've never, when this has happened in the past, I've never had so many people that were counting and depending on me to be able to provide. Like the stakes have never been this high. I've got this reserve of cash in the checking account that is depleting quickly. You can't have 8 kids and support yourself and your wife without it costs money. And so all of a sudden all these things are coming at us. They're kind of wearing us down. And so what I did is this challenge, see if I can straighten this out a little bit. So this is a 30-day challenge. Like if you had taken and you found yourself in my situation, if you had taken and lost everything, the question is, what would you do to turn it around? This room in here became my war room. I used to work in the defense contracting space, and when that's what we would call these things. We'd set these rooms up, we'd turn them into these war rooms, and then that's like, go in there, figure it out, and figure out how to take and to get back on your feet, to seize it, whatever, win. That's exactly what this room is. It became the war room. And so what we started doing is trying to figure out how do you take and turn everything around. And so I'll come over here and I'll show you what we started working on. We started writing, you can see right here on the board, we started writing all the things that are possibilities. My wife threw out, maybe I could be a waitress again. Like I said, maybe I could go sell solar. Maybe here's the vegan boss lady. Here's one of the things I'm working on as an internet-based business. My wife used to work at a mental health clinic type thing. So we threw that up there. I used to work at Raytheon. Flooring type business, sales job, work at BYU, go work at work for our church, go sell alarms. I started writing everything out here, and the main question I've had is, our expenses are high enough that the question is when is the cash going to bleed out, and how do I keep myself from skipping off the bottom so that I don't take and collapse? And so when I started looking at this, I'm like, well, there's things that are obviously not going to work. This was just throwing everything, every idea, every possibility at the wall, trying to decide what is it that we need to focus on. Like waitressing, absolutely won't work. So cross that off the list. I didn't throw out solar yet because I've been able to sell this stuff in the past. Internet-based business, I kept that up there. Working where my wife used to work, crossed that out. I did not throw out Raytheon because that is still a possibility, but it's still not enough. Anyway, you can see I kind of went through the list, tried to check things off, figuring out what would work, what wouldn't work, and then making my game plan. And part of the reason I'm taking and I'm shooting this video is there's going to be a time probably in your life or somebody that you know where the crap's going to hit the fan, and you're going to say all of a sudden, what do I do? You might find yourself exactly where I'm at. And so what I'm going to do in this next 30 days, I am going to lay out my blueprint, my challenge. I will show you how I go from my really, really, really bad position, and I am going to chunk my way out of this problem. I spent a lot of time studying and learning. I have mapped out a blueprint. I have mapped out a strategy. I have mapped out the way to go from rags to riches. I always thought that this would be kind of fun to document the journey and share it with you. I just didn't ever expect to find myself quite like this. So the challenge isn't just a fictitious thing. This thing is actually legitimately real. And so if you find yourself wanting to figure out how to take and to turn your thing around, then this is it. If you go to, so anyway, that's kind of the backstory on how I wound up here. You can see I've been laying out a strategy. My strategy, just to kind of get the top level so that you're familiar with it. My strategy is doing an internet-based business. Why? Because I'm sick of building things and then watching them all just crumble and everything fall out from under me. It hasn't happened a lot, but I'm just kind of tired of it. I used to, before I moved here to Utah, I used to live in Tucson, Arizona, and I used to go to work. Um, I worked at a place called Raytheon, manufactured missiles and stuff. And I always, like, people there would always say, "Oh, I'm going back to the bomb factory," when they'd walk into work, or "I'm going back to the salt mine, go back into work." And I always thought that those things were kind of funny. But what I always felt like when I was there is I always felt like when I was going back to work that I always visualized this ant climbing up the hill, bump, 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 bump. And he's an individual or single contributor. And then you go up there in the hive and he'd do his business and work and stuff. And I always felt like I was just this ant climbing this hill. And I liked working at a place like that because I felt safe, I felt secure. Um, but what I didn't like working at a place like that is I knew that my income, my potential was always capped. I was so frustrated. I knew that no matter how hard I worked, like if you work really hard, you can get 3.5%, 5% merit increase. Okay. So maybe you like, it's crazy. Your work week, your work hours are 40 to 60 hours a week. That's just what was expected. So if you wanted to advance to get like 5% or more in a raise, like 40 to 60 was just the requirement. You got to be putting in like 80 hours a week. And at 80 hours a week, I'm like, I'm going to put in 80 hours a week. I've got this large family, and I'm going to get $1,000 increase in my check. I'm like, God, it just doesn't. The requirement to be successful in that environment was too much. But I was comfortable. I was comfortable because it was right there. When I took and we moved our family back to Utah, like there wasn't a defense contractor around, so I had to start trying to think of things different. I had to find different solutions and whatnot, and so I ended up starting to create some different businesses to make things work. And since I've been here in Utah in 4 years, I've now seen four businesses that I got going collapse on me. And I'm just a little bit frustrated with it, tired of it. So in this case, I'm going to build a business where I've got a client base. I am not pinned down to one or two people that make up my entire income. I'm going to take and build it in such a way that it can't collapse. Like my last business that collapsed, I did a flooring company. We did installs. I went and hustled sales, like all these sales in. Life was really good. Money's coming in. Things are fine. The guys, they began not being as concerned about quality. And I'd go out there and I would look at the jobs with them. I'd measure the jobs with them. We'd go through the details of the job with them. But because there was because I brought in so much work, their interests, they didn't care if their quality started slipping. And it didn't matter if I tried to convey, like, in the end, it's my fault. I'm not trying to outsource my responsibilities because it's my fault. I just didn't know how to convey to my guys that the money will stop. The gravy train, that the fact that we have work coming in will stop. And it's like nobody understood. And when the clients finally had enough, and that's what happened. That's what happened. I was during the fire crisis. They're like, we've had enough of this low quality. Next thing you know, boom, the entire business blew up, exploded. Okay. And that's kind of where it left me. And so this time, I'm not going to build a business based on any one set of individuals that can take and terminate or destroy my entire business. I'm going to build it in such a fashion that I will still have a business, even if one person decides they don't like me, which I don't know. I need a safety net. I'm just sick of this stuff. And I'm sick of $1,000 a year pay increases. Like, there's nothing that frustrates me worse than working, and then not finding myself in a position where that the work can be rewarded. Okay, so here's the plan. Over the next 30 days, I'm going to take and I will show you how I'm going to make a transition from rags to riches. I hope you enjoy or you follow me on this journey. In fact, what I'm going to do to make it so that you can take and follow me on this journey, I actually have a very detailed blueprint. I have a plan. I have a strategy. I will show you that if you are in a big pile of mess, this is a possibility of how to get yourself out. I will take and I will show you my blueprint, my strategy, my plan. I will lay it out and we will go through it and you will see it. This is the documented, legitimate, rags to riches transformation. This is for real, people. My checking account has a very limited amount of blood in it. And one of the things I discovered or I've learned is you've got to find like the one thing. Russell Brunson talks about, actually, I think it's a couple different people that talked about it, but they talked about the big domino. I think Tim Ferriss is the guy that talks about it a lot. And I bought this book called The One Thing. Excellent books that you might want to check out. Anyway, they talk about the one thing, and the whole concept of the one thing is what is the one big domino? And when I'm saying the big domino, what is the one thing that if you were to get this right, it solves all your problems? Like there's always this thing that's the most important thing to do that we've got to take and do. And one of the challenges we run into is we get distracted by these little things and we get caught up in the minutia of is it live? Yes, it's still live. Okay, cool. One of the things that we get stuck doing is we get down into the minutia of I guess of little things that don't matter, they don't contribute. And so I've been thinking about my problem. Here's my problem. Boom, right there. Now, what is the one thing I can do that if I get this right, this solves everything? And my one thing is like I want to be able to take vacations. I want to be able to travel around the world. I don't want to be tied to any geographical place where I have to live in order to operate my business. I want to find myself with enough income that I can create an amazing lifestyle. So my wife says that we want to go to Hawaii. We're going to go to Hawaii. We're going to stay there until we're tired of being in Hawaii. I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And so my question I keep going back and I keep asking myself is what is the one thing that if I get this right, it realigns, it changes everything, it resets the stars, it's everything. And the thing that I've come up with is I've got to figure out how to do online sales and marketing. Now you might say, why? You take Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos worked, he was like a vice president at a bank, and they said to Jeff Bezos, like, go figure out the next thing we should do. And so he did it. He went and did his market research. And he came back and he's like, this is the one thing that we should do. And they're like, all right, cool. Let's see the offer. Let's see what your strategy is. And he says, the one thing is let's start selling books online. And he's like, the online business is growing at like 1,800% or 18,000%, whatever it was. It was like absolutely ridiculously massive. It was insane. And people at the bank are like, dude, bro, like, are you on drugs? Like, you're a vice president. We send you off to come back with like the solution. And you told us to sell books? And so they didn't believe in him. And he said, well, the exponential growth is right there. That is what to do. Anyway, so he's like, fine. He ate his own cooking, left the company as the vice president, and he went and he built Amazon. And just to put things in perspective, 25 cents out of every dollar today on the internet flows through Amazon. He wasn't just right. He was massively right. And when I look at that, I'm like, if I create the right business online, and if I do it right, I could live anywhere I want in the world. That solves that problem. The income potential is exponential. It's not linear. I could do, my neighbor here, he's wanted me to go take and to help him do landscaping and do landscaping sales. I can only accomplish so many landscaping sales. And then he's going to pay me based on how many sales I can get. But the problem I'm going to have there is the same one I had in the flooring. I could sell way more flooring and landscaping than they have the ability to fulfill. That's the problem. Like their businesses are scalable, but they're slow movers. They can't scale overnight. I can't go in there and double his business in a week, and he could go, oh, I've got great places. I like all these guys. I just suck them in, right? That's not scalable. And so it's got to be scalable. It can't be location determined. So I've got to be able to live where I want. But the income potential has got to be there. I'm not going to do a phenomenal job for $1,000 pay increase. Like, why would that make sense? Like, when every time we have, maybe we're done, we've got 8 kids, right? Every time I have a new baby, that added child doesn't come with $1,000 a year price tag. They come with a lot more than $1,000 a year price tag. So I can either figure out how to make the money I've got stretch a lot farther, or I can figure out how to make more money. And it's kind of funny that the fact that I have so many kids creates the necessity to figure out more important problems to solve. And I noticed this stuff about this pesky little internet stuff is it's near as I could tell, it's easy and it's difficult at the same time. Easy in the sense that I believe if you understand the blueprint, the strategy, the mechanism, then I believe it can be easy. But if you do it blindly, wandering around in the dark, hoping that you can figure it out, it's not going to work. Like kind of a story I recall, um, there was this gentleman. Okay, so they all went into this particular building, right? And when they get into this building, the one guy, he's leading the blind guy. He's guiding him inside this building, whatnot. And so they get inside this conference room and they're sitting down, and then all of a sudden the power goes out and it's pitch black. And this caring individual, he reaches over to his friend and he goes, hey, don't worry, I've got it under control. I'll help you get out of here. And the blind guy's like, welcome to my world. I will show you how to get out of here. Because the blind guy knew the path. He's been living this forever. He's already mastered how to navigate the world without eyesight. Okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm not going to make this crap up. I am going to do as Tony Robbins said. I will model success. Like as you watch this, and as you decide you want to embark on this journey, and I'll share it with you. You're going to see the ups and downs. It's going to be raw. This video right here is pretty raw. You're going to see the ups and downs, but I am not going after Mike's strategy. Mike's rags to riches transition that you're going to witness, and I will share with you, is me following a blueprint, a plan, a strategy. There is a method. I am not going to waste my time trying to figure out a whole bunch of ways where it won't work. I am going to go down a very specific path to get a very specific outcome that will work. Of course, it's a little terrifying, right? Because you never want to find yourself in a position where the whole world turns upside down on you. But it's going to happen. It just crap happens. If you look at the time spans between recessions, usually you can get up to about 10 years. That's kind of the longest time span. Like they claim that the last recession ended in like 2009, okay? And it's 2019, 10 years. We're like at one of the longest periods of time, the longest spans between recessions. And if you think that the gravy is going to keep coming, you are crazy. Because what we know is there's patterns. Recessions will come. Warren Buffett, I should go look at his checking account. My guess is he has got cash up the chimney, like covering his roof. He's got a war chest of revenue and cash a mile high, because when the world falls apart, Warren's going to dig his ladle in deep and he's going to pull it out because he's ready. He's ready. And as sure shooting as I'm standing here, I know, looks like it's Christine's birthday today. As I know, just like I know the world's going to fall apart. Like in my mind, I know it's going to fall apart. I've got to get ahead of this problem before it hits, because I'm not going to go out there unprotected. Even if I wasn't protected, I would still figure this out. But I'm doing exactly as Tony Robbins said. I am modeling modeling. Just to be clear, my blueprint, if you guys have ever heard of Russell Brunson, I'm going to follow his blueprint. Like, I have bought his books, I have studied his courses, I have spent, because I want to solve this problem, I've spent probably initially $5,000. Okay, I gave Ty Lopez $1,000, bought one of his courses. So I started digging in this to understand how to make a rags to riches transformation. I ended up digging more into Russell Brunson, and I'm going to follow this blueprint. And so as I go through this, I will show you the path, the steps, everything that I am going to do, which means that if I fail, you know exactly what not to do. And if I succeed, you have got a mapped out blueprint of how to get there. And frankly, the stakes are too high for me to fail. So failure is not an option. Tony Robbins says, if you want to take the island, burn the boats. Okay, my boats are burning. It is what it is. The flipping things are on fire, even though I don't want them on fire. I am working daily to keep my wife together. Yes, postpartum is a massive, massive problem. It's like, have you ever been through it? It's like crazy. Like what I've had to go through to keep my wife in a place of sanity. Like, income disappeared, not going to function. Evacuate from a house, postpartum depression. Okay, threats of flood. The income disappeared, and still had all these obligations. I'm like, are you kidding? Can we make the stakes any higher? Like, that's not a recommendation that we do it, but I'm just saying it's a little bit terrifying. Anyway, so rags to riches transformation, that's exactly what's underway. So what I've done, I've gone out there, I've set up a website where you can opt into it, and I'll give you blueprints, I'm going to give you layouts, I'm going to give you strategies, I'm going to show you the step by step, I will show you the teachings, I will show you the methodology. It's going to be very detailed on how to get there. This is very impromptu, but it's important enough that I'm sure there's somebody out there that wishes that they knew a blueprint or a strategy to get out of their predicament. So anyway, you will be able to take and to see this if you go to www.ragstorichestransition.com. Okay, that's where you can go, ragstorichestransition.com, and that's where you will be able to take and to opt in for this. And I will show you behind the scenes on the website I'm building. I will show you the paths, the steps, everything that I'm doing to make this transformation a reality. And if you decide you don't want to follow it, well, good luck. Hope you figure out a path to be able to make your own money. And that's good, because we need a lot of people out there that can figure things out on their own, so they can bring back the gold treasures and share those gold nuggets with the rest of us. So when crap hits the fan, we can all prosper and figure it out. But in the interim, this is how I'm going to take and I'm going to do it. This is how I will take and share this journey with you. You're going to get videos. I will lay it out. I'm going to detail out what I'm taking and I'm sharing. I'll lay it out. You're going to get the videos, you're going to get worksheets, you're going to get the whole handout of how to take and to make this transformation. And the stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you is not theory. It's not, I hope it works. This is what I've discovered about this online marketing is, like, people want you to think that there's a bunch of hocus pocus magic and crap that happens in the background. And maybe it does, but it's still a science-based business. Like, one of the things that I liked working at Raytheon is that's an engineering company. Like, they know that if they do this, they get these outcomes. And they know if they do this and this, they get these outcomes. Like, it's a systematic approach to solving a problem. Like, I know that if I go downstairs with my key, plug it into the ignition and turn it, that the truck's going to start. Okay. It's like one of these things that you can predict in advance. Now, if I go down there and it doesn't start, then I know that there's an engineering failure that needs to be fixed. Maybe my battery's dead. Okay. Charge my battery. I put my key back in. Boom. It's going to start. These things are not, they're not hypothetical. they're legitimately predictable outcomes. And so I'm looking for strategies that are predictable. The outcomes, you can already say that they will work. Like this video I'm shooting right here is part of the strategy. Like it's a predictable outcome. Like I know there's people out there that have got this problem that they're looking for a solution, and I know that the path that I'm going to take you on is a solution that gets out of your problems. Like this is my one thing. This is the one thing that if I get this right, all the other dominoes fall. Like it doesn't matter. All these other problems are staying. It doesn't matter. Um, and like right now, I've got like I got all these people that are like, people got a lot of advice for me right now. And you know what? I don't care. Okay. I figured out my one thing. I will go after my one thing. It's like a pit bull, man. You bite onto it, you latch onto it, and you do not let it go. It's like back in the caveman day, man. We were hunters. You go out to hunt and you bring back an animal. You will eat it. It's kind of like Dave Ramsey. He talks about, he said that actually this is good. I should definitely need to share this with you. Dave Ramsey was talking about like if you're out in the African safari and there's a gazelle, right? Here's this gazelle and here's this lion, and the lion's coming for the gazelle, and the lion's like all your obligations, your debt, and you can get paralyzed. You can get paralyzed and the lion will just eat you. And you can't not seize when you've got to be energized and focused. And like when that lion's coming, you will run. You will run, run, run. That is how you survive. And you will run faster than you ever thought was possible, which I think is probably what's going to happen here. Learn how to run faster than I thought was possible because the problem is that close. Okay? That's what we're doing, but it's a methodical running path. It's not just stupid blind. Like my tribe of 10 counts on me running in the right direction. I can't run at the other lions that are hungry because I found myself in a trap. You can't do that. You can't take, I can't take and say, oh, I've got this problem and run to like Walmart and say, I'm going to work at Walmart. Okay. They'll hire me probably, but that problem will only allow me to be eaten. I could go get probably a job where they'd pay me. I got a degree in accounting. So let's just say I got a job in accounting. Problem is when I got a tribe this big and I go after that opportunity, I will get eaten. That will be me running straight at the lion, and the lion will open its mouth and it will consume me. I have to run. You can't walk. You got to run, but you got to run to the right solution, to the right destination. And so that is the one thing that I'm going to solve, because if I solve that thing, the one thing, if I knock down the one thing, if I push out all the stupid distractions, like there's 10,000 distractions that want my attention, if I push all that crap out of the way, there it is. Can you see it? Think about it. If you take all that crap, all the stuff and all the expectations and all these crazy to-dos that everybody seems to want to put on you, and you're like, if I solve that, that's my one thing. This is my one thing. This is my one thing, and I will share with you how I will accomplish my one thing so that you can see how you could accomplish it too. But you don't have to. I only put it out there is because I do know that this has happened to you. It's happened to me, and I am going to build a fortress, a place of safety, of haven, and I think other people would want to go on the journey. So, with that said, I will sign off. You want to join it? Go to ragstherichisttransition.com. If you go there now, this is going to be free. Sometime in the future, as I get this thing ironed out, that's going to be probably $997. Okay, so you get it free now. If you take and you say, "Hey, I don't want that," that's fine. But if you ever decide to come back because you decided not to run, not to take action, that's probably going to change to 997. And I don't know exactly when, but the point is what I'm going to show you or share with you is that valuable. In fact, it might not even stay at 997 when I get this thing pumped out and ironed out. Maybe I'll take it up to 10,000. So anyway,